Hey everyone, it's Corey from Unified Masters. So I wanted to come on and just do a little year reflection video for myself to be able to just kind of document what's happened in the past year. But because this channel was created under the moniker Thought Soldiers back in December 21st of 2018. And it being December 22nd, I was going to do this video yesterday, but it was a very busy day, so I'm gifted the opportunity from the universe to come on and to just discuss a little bit of what's happened over the past year and the growth and the expansion. And a lot of this is just being able to share more of my story authentically, which is something that I'm going to be doing more. But also too, it's being able to gift people the opportunity to go within and to reflect over the course of 2019, what's occurred, looking at the lessons, things that are wrapping up, kind of an opportunity to review and reflect, and then be able to see the growth and the expansion, whether it be micro, macro, whether it be that, there's just been some subtle changes in you, or you're completely in an entirely new world and a new environment, and being able to gift yourself the opportunity to breathe that in and be able to enjoy this life that we are gifted the opportunity of being able to live. And so how this channel started actually was on December 20th of last year. Samantha was on the Higher Self channel. That's how I had found her. And she was gifting people free sessions just to be able to get her energy work started. And so I booked a session with her. And the topic was receiving love. And so she did an energy session on me. And next day I woke up on solstice on December 21st, 2018, and I made my first video. And actually the other day I went back and I watched that video, and it was really, it's interesting because there's some topics, there's just some interesting synchronicities and things from that video that kind of really blew not only me open recently, but blew Samantha open. And it was just cool being able to see all that. And when I started this channel, I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and it was under the name Thought Soldiers. Little did I know that that name would create so much complexity to my journey. It added a new level of depth, and it brought me about to recognizing how much our words and our views of self, regardless of definition. Okay, so to go into this really quick, the name Thought Soldiers was never, depicted as the war scenario. If you read the narrative that I had written, it was ending the war between the conscious and subconscious, and the training it takes to become a master of the mind. But because the word soldiers holds a certain vibrational frequency within the collective, and within myself too, and there's layers and there's depth to it. It's not just one thing. There's so much attached to that word as we look at words, spelling, spell. It ended up bringing a level of complexity in my life that really brought me to a point of many times almost breaking, completely breaking and snapping. And so, granted, I loved the name, and I still love the name. I think it's a neat name. But what it had invited and what it was promoting within self, and just the word soldiers was emitting through the collective, it had to go. But when I started this, there was so much fear within of being 100% authentic, because over the course and the span of my life, up until the point of really just owning myself unconditionally and speaking from the soul, or what was available of my access to the soul at the time. Every time I was authentic, there was a moment of severe discord that ended in a fragmentation of self, because it had been shown to me over the course of my existence that me being authentic it didn't work for people. And so I found that a lot of my life was owning up to someone else's truth and living someone else's life. And the process of starting living myself fully, it started about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, where I really started to just finally take my power back and say, no, I'm gonna be me authentically. and the discord and the shakeups that happen as a result of this, of no longer abiding by someone else's laws. And we're looking at, by laws, I mean like looking at like family stuff, and especially when it came down to my treatment, because as many of you know, if you've been following this channel for a while and heard me discuss it, I was in the behavioral health field, not only working in the behavioral health field, but I was a patient for an extremely long time. So for a greater portion of my life, there was this wanting to find truth, seeking truth of what was happening to me, why I was perceiving things, why I was so sensitive, why my thoughts would go to places, why I believed all these things about superpowers and kind of like the hero's journey concept, and the grandiosity, the moments of being extremely connected to divine in a manic state, and being able to see and perceive, and how that was told to me by my team, not spiritual team, but treatment team, that there was something wrong with me, and especially from my family too, because the thing was that these energies, as they arrived, and my sensitivity was increasing over the span of my life, I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't have proper coaching, and there was, if I had access to things like, psychics or mediums, or to, shamans at the time, we could have honed in on what was really going on with me at a lot younger age and saved a lot of time. But that's not my journey. My journey was to go through all that to land at this point, and then to help others that are going through that. And so through the process of like in and out of psych hospitals, in and out of delusions, psychosis as a result of substances, medications, sensitivity to energies, entities, galactic visitations, things of that nature, I started to recognize that all others' truths that were being casted upon me just weren't resonating. And so what started the journey of opening up and finding out what is my truth, what's really going on with me, because I recognized that every professional that I went to seek help from, they didn't have an answer. What they had was, they had a perspective. They had a multi-dimensional perspective on what was going on with me, and that perspective would switch depending on who I would talk to. And so because of that, it led to a lack of stability in my life. It led to extreme peaks and troughs of it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And what it left me up was an extremely jumbled mess, extremely fragmented, and pulled in so many different ways, because I tried everything to be able to find the truth of what was in, and being able to combat the symptoms and let them subside, especially after 2012, when basically the new earth started. And as we all know, we're at the 7-year mark right now of the creation of new earth. And so when everything kind of struck at the end of the Mayan calendar in this new creation, this is when things really escalated and picked up, and the symptoms got a lot worse. And so anyway, getting back to this, was that when I found that I spoke my truth throughout the course of my life, it was always met with some sort of discord, or some sort of trauma, or self-worth patterns, not trusting myself, so on and so forth. So when I started this channel, it was difficult putting myself on, but I noticed that there was an audience that was receptive to it. And I wouldn't say audience. What I would say is that I found my people. I found my tribe of people that resonated with me. Because if we take a multidimensional perspective on this, everything that I go through in my life, it can either have it can have a spiritual connotation to it. It can have an angelic connotation, or a viewpoint. So it can have a spiritual viewpoint, an angelic viewpoint. It can have a galactic viewpoint. It can have a 3D viewpoint. It can have a political viewpoint. You see, once we start to, depending on our frequency and our belief systems, everything going on in my life can be seen in different frameworks. So once again, it's just understanding frequency through different lenses. And so I found my people that had my lenses and understood what was going on, but I also started to run into people that knew more. And so because of that, that started to unpack and open me up more, which really kind of escalated the Lightworker journey, which a lot of the Lightworker journey for me was being the Lightworker, not knowing I was a Lightworker, but waking people up, and then being the catalyst for people to wake up, or to just, it's not like completely wake up, but get more into alignment and authenticity, as I did a lot of grid work as a kid and didn't know I was doing grid work as I was going about from place to place, different social groups, you know, the discovery of self. But also it kind of brought this multifaceted approach of trying everything to really seek out and find who I was. And so when I started this channel and I started to find my tribe and started to find the people that had my lenses, that's when the magic started to really happen for me. And it's been, you know, an amazing experience over this past year with the growth and the expansion. It got to a point where this channel started to create some issues with my job because I was speaking my truth. I was dealing with a lot of interesting backlash, and I started to become more vocal about my belief system. And because of that, it brought a lot of beauty, but it also brought a lot of issues and a lot of struggles. And this is, of course, under, you know, the moniker Thought Soldiers, it did bring about a new level of war within, and it also invited in more of the war mentality. And so what it did is I would call this more of my Indigo Phase, which when I state Indigo Phase, I look at the race of indigos that basically come in and are there to break down the structures. The phase of this journey is when more of the indigo side of Corey was coming out, was really breaking things down. And now it's led to this point of really harnessing more of my crystal aspects, which is more of that building out and just being love and being truth and finding out more and more of who I am. Over the course of this year, I've met so many wonderful people and have met so many wonderful subscribers and have gone through a lot of learning lessons. You know, there's many moments where I came on here and, you know, granted with where I was at, I watched some of these videos and I go, why haven't I deleted that? Well, it's because, and I've mentioned this in a podcast the other day, is that because that truth resonated at that point in time. And as I start to climb the ladder of ascension and I start to become more and more aware, and my beliefs shift and mold based on frequency and based on the timeline I'm on and so many other factors and initiations and perspectives, that a lot of this has been really having to, when I wanted to run away because I was like, oh, you know, I can't believe I said that, or, you know, there was a bad comment or someone didn't like what I had to say. I had to keep standing in my truth and knowing that, like, hey, this is who I am. I didn't start this channel to be Mr. Right 100% of the time. I started this channel to document what was going on for myself and be able to have a platform to be able to share my truth. And if other people resonated with it, great. And if other people didn't, great too, because there's always, we live in such an expansive world that, you know, if my truth doesn't resonate with you, someone's will. And so the idea is we keep finding those that resonate. And you know, there's people that will resonate with me, and then I reach a point where they no longer do, and I go off and I do my journey, and you know, sometimes I go back to them and they resonate again, sometimes they don't. It's all frequency, and this is where we don't take it personal. It's all vibrational. But over the course of the last year, there's been a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, a lot of hurt, a lot of being broken open, and a lot of fast tracking the ascension process. Losing a lot of people, losing a lot of friends, but as we recognize now, there's no loss, because you never lose anything in the universe. Energy is never destroyed. It always just is. And so it was always replaced with more beautiful things, whether it was a more connection to self, new tribe members. It always brought about great lessons and great growth. A lot of death this year too. I lost, I think, about 9 people over the course of this year. So it's been an interesting one, exposing myself more to that, and then opening myself up to mediumship, which has been happening more and more. And that's been kind of a beautiful expansion and gift through this too, is understanding more of death and how it occurs and what happens on the other side. So, you know, I'm not going to go through all of the lessons of this year because there's been so many. A lot of this has been a rapid growth of ascension that I couldn't go through all of them. But I think the biggest one of them all that I can reflect on over 2019 is to never give up, to just not give up and to keep going forward, because there was many moments during this last year where I was like, I'm done, I'm giving up, whether it was giving up on the channel, giving up on my work, or even giving up in life and throwing in the towel. But every time that happened, my angels, my teams, they always came forth with something that reminded me of why I do this and why I chose to come here for this experiment, why I chose to remember, why I chose to heavily forget and then try to remember, and all the confusion and doubt that happens in between. But the biggest lesson is to not give up and to stand for who you are authentically, because you also now provide someone else the opportunity to embody that. And in a world filled with falsity and illusion, being authentic is very, it's important. It's important. You know, the greatest acts and miracles of heroes that I've seen had nothing to do with what they did, you know, in these great acts of courage, but the greatest act of courage that they had was just being themselves authentically. And that to me has been the biggest lesson of this, is just standing in myself authentically and not backing down, and affording everyone else the opportunity to believe whatever they want to believe, whether you want to believe in fairies, in Santa Claus, in the universe, in God, in Buddha, or believing in it all under the law of one. It's, you know, the idea is that our beliefs mold our reality, and our perspectives are unique and valuable within one another. We need every shade and every color to coexist as one, because all of those reflections put the puzzle pieces back together that land us back at the light of everything that is. And so we need that all. We need those shades authentically to be produced on a day-to-day basis and easily accessed, so everyone can find their belief, as we live in a world filled with false beliefs and also a lot of lies and trickery as well. And this is where we seek to reveal the truth to more and lift the veils, so we all can live under a universal truth, of universal love and universal law, and be able to coexist as one, under those laws and under those truths, and be able to kind of rewrite the script and rewrite the narrative so we can all live in harmony as one. And so 2019 has been an awesome year. A lot of expansion, a lot of growth, a lot of self-actualization, a lot of death and rebirth. But through it all, the recognition that through all of that, through all the bumps and the scrapes and the bruises, the ego bruises, the crying, the breaking down, the breaking open, I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still breathing, and I'm still communicating, and I'm still being myself authentically. And granted, my authenticity has changed, because as I connect more pieces of the puzzle and I return more fragments and I learn more, you know, what was authentic to me a year ago is definitely different than my authenticity today. But the idea is through the molding and the bending of your beliefs and of who you are and the frequency changes, remaining authentic through it all unconditionally and not going backward has been a key part of this entire process. And so if you choose to do this and just kind of like reflect back, you know, what's happened throughout the course of 2019? What am I going to do differently in 2020? How am I going to remain present every single day and grateful for the moment that is this, and grateful for the breath and grateful for life? How can I better operate from a level of truth and authenticity that I allow to shine unconditionally and don't back down when people try to push my boundaries or push my limits or push my authenticity or try to fit me into a framework or fit me into a mold? Those are the questions I have to ask myself on a day-to-day basis, and make sure that I can be 100% present with self and 100% present with others, but first and foremost, present with self, because I can't be present with others if I'm not present with self. And that's the gift, right? That's the gift of today. That's the gift of the day, is being present. And so with that, I ask if you would like to reflect on what's happened throughout 2019. A lot of us are doing this introspection right now, especially since we're under this solstice gateway, which allows that mirroring effect, that opportunity to kind of like go within, light some candles, kind of bask in the dark a little bit, and just kind of review and take action steps towards aligning and towards bringing in that highest vibrational timeline, that highest vibrational truth, and bringing that sense of safety of self and safety with others in order to continue to walk forward in full embodiment and to continue on the soul's journey, or the hero's journey, however you want to frame it for yourself, and how it shows up in your reality. So much love and respect to everyone out there. Thank you all so much for the continued support with this channel, and the blessings, the wishes, the donations, booking sessions. I love you all, and I want to thank you all for being here and for being you authentically. And if you have a difficult time being yourself authentically out in the world, I challenge you to just be you, because you is enough. Your shields can go down now. Your swords can go down. Regardless of what life shows to you and reflects back to you, that's a part of the learning lesson and the growth that offers you the opportunity to clear and to grow and to expand. We can take down the shields now, and we can put the swords down, put the weapons down. We can stop fighting within and without, and we can be ourselves authentically. And if you don't have that opportunity to do that, then maybe it's time to start gathering up the resources to land yourself in an environment where you can be yourself authentically, and allow the universe to move you into that direction through the vortex of your desires. So once again, thank you all for showing up. Much love and respect to everyone out there. If you haven't, click subscribe. If you need anything at all, please reach out. My email is in the description box. Same with my calendars for appointments. All the links are down there. So once again, I will see you on the other side. Namaste.